If you don't know about Naruto, crawl out from under that rock you've been hiding under and be sure to inhale
Nice and slow.
Because yes, Naruto really is that huge. And part of the reason it's that huge is because this man skilled the living daylights out of it. Drawing and animation, skilled to the max. Fight scenes, also skilled to the max. Backstories, more developed than Kakashi's Sharingan. Villains, more real than Itachi's Genjutsus. Characters, full of variety and unique qualities. All of these and other facts are why Naruto is easily acclaimed as one of the greatest animes of all time. But all of that aside, let's get into the topic of this video, which is one of the very few things Masashi Kishimoto didn't skill: romance. Now to those who are uninformed, as it relates to romance, Naruto ended on a bit of a lurch. Long story short, at the end of the series, Naruto Uzumaki had two main prospects for a future relationship: Sakura Haruno and Hinata Hyuga. And the main problem with this reality was that both prospects had massive fan followings that were rooting for them to get with Naruto, which meant that unless some S-tier level writing was introduced, a huge chunk of the fan base was going to be extremely angry and disappointed, which is exactly what happened. Now Kishimoto said that he started this love triangle to build interest in the show, and we all know that love triangles do build interest. But let me tell you something, my friends. If you don't know how to properly deal with a love triangle, then in the end, you're going to majorly piss off whichever portion of the fan base was on the other side. And though I do believe Kishimoto said he regretted it in the end, the damage had already been done. So now it's up to us who watched it to analyze what went wrong and expose it in the hopes that future series will avoid this huge writing pitfall. Now with the love triangle, you do have to realize that no matter what you write or do, there are always going to be people on the other side who are mad their ship or desired pairing didn't happen. This is unavoidable. But with the proper writing and with great care taken to properly deal with both sides of the love triangle, you can arrive at an ending that is actually good and that leaves each side of the fan base more or less satisfied. Let's take Naruto as an example here to see what I mean. If the writing were good at the end of the Naruto series, then even though Naruto ended up with Hinata, both NaruSaku and NaruHina fans would be at least satisfied. And notice I'm not using a strong word like pleased or happy to describe how both shipping groups would feel in this case. More likely, NaruHina fans would be extremely happy and NaruSaku fans would be placated, though they could even be happy if the writing was good enough to show them that NaruHina was the better option. And if you want to take a look at a certain series to see examples of this, you can look at a show like Smallville. Now for those unaware, Smallville is a very popular show following the adventures of a young Clark Kent before he becomes Superman. And in the first half of the show, and even for a few seasons after that, Clark is pining after Lana Lang. But we all know his destiny is with Lois Lane. So how did the writers handle this? They slowly fade out Clark and Lana and slowly fade in Lois and Clark. And this works very well. Now there are still Clark and Lana fans out there. I've even heard some of them saying that the Smallville universe should have been the one universe in which Clark and Lana got together. But the major consensus is that Clark and Lois work best. And even those who used to ship Clark and Lana together can see this, with many of them now supporting Lois and Clark. Now NaruSaku may have been harder to fade out because some of the relationship foundation had already been laid, but it's the writer's job to work with their story as it is to bring it to where they want it to be. Or as an alternative, they can avoid the more complicated storyline altogether if they can't handle it. We can also go over to the realm of anime to find another example and take an anime that most people have watched, like Dragon Ball Z. Now most of us, when we were watching Dragon Ball, which came right before Dragon Ball Z, wanted to see Goku end up with Bulma. Unfortunately, this did not happen. And many of us were disappointed because Goku ended up with Chi-Chi due to a very wacky promise. But later on, Bulma ended up with Vegeta, and they ended up being such a power couple that we kind of forgot about how much we wanted Goku and Bulma to end up together in the first place. See how that works? Now these two cases are a little different. With Smallville, we gradually saw this progression of Clark and Lois becoming the couple at the forefront as Clark and Lana faded out. With Dragon Ball, it is more so time that changed our minds, and also how the story and pairings progressed with time. As it relates to Naruto, Dragon Ball Z also had the added advantage of never having tried to create a love triangle. And because it stayed in the realm of being a fighting anime with wacky undertones, and never really reached deep into that romance category, when we got disappointed by Goku and Chi-Chi getting together, we didn't feel like it was as much a blow to our core, because Dragon Ball Z was still about fighting and wackiness, and it had never tried to be about anything else. Goku getting married because of a stupid promise was just another part of the wackiness that was Dragon Ball. Contrast this to Naruto, where an entire movie came out trying to explain why Naruto's feelings had suddenly shifted from liking Sakura to liking Hinata. To put it simply, Naruto tried to dabble in a realm the series wasn't known for and that the writer had very little experience working with, and because of that, it fumbled majorly. Now all of that being said, let's deal with our first pairing, Naruto and Hinata, or NaruHina for short. And right here I'm going to take the time to make the problem plain so that everyone can understand. In writing, when you are creating a pairing, there are certain things you have to do for that pairing to be put on display and shown at its very best. And also for us, the audience, to even believe and feel this is an actual pairing that is happening. For example, the characters have to have moments together. The characters have to spend time together. It has to be shown when and why the characters start to like each other. And these reasons usually have to be real. They most often cannot be bypassed, and they usually cannot be induced by some force within the story. In Naruto's case, he realized his feelings for Hinata after falling into some type of genjutsu. This is bad, and frighteningly so. Naruto cannot realize he has feelings for Hinata because he falls into a genjutsu and remembers certain moments from the past, thus suddenly awakening feelings he didn't know were there. This is bad writing. And the icing on this bad writing cake is when he tells her that he's in love with her within such a short time span of this happening. Ironically making it look like Sakura was at least right in some dimension when she told him he didn't know what love really was, because he is acting here really immature and like he has no idea of what love really is. So NaruHina fans and everyone else, please take note of what I am saying and what I am not saying. I am not saying that Naruto and Hinata are necessarily a bad couple. That is not what I am saying. What I'm saying is that how Naruto and Hinata was written within the series and how they ended up getting together was not good. If it were written better, it would probably have had a more Smallville-esque feel to it, where even NaruSaku fans would now admit that Naruto and Hinata are the better couple. This did not happen, and it didn't happen because of the bad writing. And just for reference, it's worth noting that a huge chunk of the fanbase immediately abandoned Naruto after the ending. Not because the fight scenes were getting Dragon Ball Z-esque and leaving the ninja roots. Not because the war arc fell kinda flat with Kaguya and all the other Otsutsuki stuff. Not because a lesser series in Boruto was looming on the horizon, but because the ending and pairings felt so forced and wrong. Fanfic writers left, artists left, watchers left, manga readers left, I watched Boruto for a bit, then I left, and it was just a huge mess. Now to NaruSaku. Now Naruto and Sakura as a pairing is a strange beast. Loved by some, respected by some, hated by some, and every opinion you can think of in between. But my argument as a writer is that within the context of the Naruto show, Naruto and Sakura worked. And why did this happen? Well, because they had all the opportunity to do so. Naruto and Sakura are on the same team. And as a side note, please note that whenever you are putting two characters together, you have to find a way to write into your story a lot of situations where they will be around each other. That's just a given. How else are they going to start liking each other? So with Naruto and Sakura being on the same team, giving them moments together isn't that hard. You can even give them bad moments together and have that be a building block for giving them better moments in the future. As an example, we can take Sakura's confession to Naruto in the Land of Snow. What if later down the line she decides that she wants to apologize to Naruto and that leads to a bonding moment between them? Perhaps her feelings are actually real around this time and she is trying to bring that to Naruto's attention. This is high-level drama, and viewers are going to eat this up. And the list of things like that you can do goes on and on. Now add to all the moments together the fact that we could start to sense a change in the relationship dynamic between the two as the series progressed, with mutual respect and admiration growing between them. Point is that since all this stuff is already happening within the series, it wouldn't be hard to piggyback off of this and let the pairing for the future be NaruSaku. You don't even really need a movie for this pairing to happen, though making one wouldn't be ill-advised. So you see, this already built-up chemistry is what NaruHina didn't have, and if Kishimoto wanted to make that the pairing, then he should have thought about finding a way of giving Naruto and Hinata more time together. Perhaps there's a team fusion for whatever reason, and Hinata's team ends up working with Naruto's team. This is one way of getting around the problem. If you wanted to make it even better, you could even make it so that Sakura can't be around for whatever reason, and she could be missing sometimes or all the time. Perhaps they need her back at the village while the team goes on missions because they need her medical skills and are understaffed. there are many ways of doing this. Now I will mention that this scenario of getting Naruto and Hinata on the same team was done in Naruto the Last, but with such a short time constraint, this was a single movie, you need a writer who not only knows how to write romance well, but they also need to be able to manipulate time well within a story. Kishimoto was not prepared to do this. Now I feel that everything I've said up to this point has been completely objective. If you disagree, feel free to leave something in the comment section saying so and explaining why you believe that to be the case. But with both pairings now dealt with on the basic level of what makes them work and not work, let's look at how you actually have to deal with a love triangle in writing. In other words, let's look at how we would actually write Naruto and Hinata as the main pairing in a good way as the Naruto series ended. Okay, just to start this off, here's what I want to say. You have to realize that when you want to do something in writing, there's very often a way of breaking what you want to do down into a formula that you can apply to any story. And that formula is what I'm going to try to disclose and apply to Naruto here to show you all how Naruto and Hinata could have worked out in the end. And to keep things simple, let's call this the love triangle formula. Now the basic form of this formula is a sort of template that you take and apply to any story. The individual tweaks that you add along the line are completely up to you. Also, know that some steps are interchangeable based on how you are writing the story and what has already happened. Alright, enough talking about it. Here's the formula. Number 1, introduce the love triangle. Number 2, let the relationship or relationships start to run their course. Number 3, important step. For whichever pairing you do not want to be the final pairing, start showing the problems with that pairing. Number 4, for the pairing that you do want to be the final pairing, show the benefits and good things about this pairing. And bonus points if you show that one of these things is something that the other relationship is seriously lacking. Just as a brief example from Smallville, note that Lana went around for a while with Bizarro, not noticing that it wasn't Clark.
What?
To the contrary, she opened up to Bizarro greatly because Bizarro was acting the way she wanted Clark to act. What message do we the viewers take from this? Lana perhaps wants Clark to be someone he actually isn't. Notice that we never have such a glaring revelation of this problem with Lois. Number 5. Choose from your options. You can either ramp up number 4 to the max and make the problem start to cascade, or you can slowly let them build to the point where there's an amicable agreement that the characters involved in this pairing are not compatible. Or you can in some other way make the relationship start to devolve so that it can end within the story. Number 6. With the relationship you don't want to be the final pairing out of the way, allow the relationship that you do want to be the final pairing to start to come to the forefront. And if your character is perhaps recovering from the breakup or something like that, it can be that the character in the pairing that you want to be the final pairing is just friends with your other character at the moment. Or you can move things quicker along if you have a different situation. Let's say the person was kind of dancing between choosing one of the two and decides to go with the other one. Much different situation. It's really your call to make based on how your story is going and how you think things shape up based on the particular situation. Number 7. Now this isn't really a number 7. This is just me restating something at the end of this because it's very important to realize. And that is that even though you've done all these things to write an awesome conclusion to your little love triangle, you are still going to have diehard fans of whatever ship you tried to kill. Some of them will be sad, some of them will be angry, some of them will be an odd mix in between. Completely unavoidable. This will happen every single time. There will always be Clark and Lana fans, there will always be Clark and Lois fans, there will always be Naruto and Sakura fans, there will always be Naruto and Hinata fans, there will always be Goku and Bulma fans, Goku and Chi-Chi fans, etc. Now before we continue, a few things. First, I want to say that this formula is a general guideline. There are many tweaks that you can make as it relates to your story to apply this formula to its general core. As always with writing, your own creativity and thinking will have to majorly come into play for you to write something awesome and unique to you. And secondly, you should note that a good writer can compress multiple steps or fulfill them in an extremely quick fashion. As it relates to our example with Naruto, if a writer wishes to skip all the deconstruction of why Naruto and Sakura don't work, they can start the story off with Naruto thinking to himself, and through his thoughts, reveal that he knows things will never work out with Sakura because Sakura is stuck on Sasuke. This one reason is enough for the reader to see a major problem within Naruto and Sakura as a pairing, namely that Sakura doesn't feel the same way. So we can start off with Naruto in a letting go phase and launch from there. The writer can also reveal through Naruto's thoughts that Naruto and Sakura have spoken about certain things and perhaps even tried dating for a bit, but it hasn't worked out for this and that reason. Notice that the writer is now showing the audience the reasons why the Naruto and Sakura pairing doesn't work, but not actually dealing with them in an extensive way, which they would have to do if they followed the formula I gave rigidly. And there are many different things like this that the author can do. Now going back to our topic, how does all of this apply to our Naruto series, and how could this formula have saved the romance as the series ended? Well, with NaruSaku, it's actually pretty obvious there wasn't much that needed to be done. The setup was already there. No formula needed. But with NaruHina, things obviously became a bit more complicated. Why? Because you have to deal with the already existing setup for NaruSaku before you get to NaruHina. And whether you meant to set up Naruto and Sakura or not is irrelevant. They are there. So you set them up, you have to deal with them. Otherwise, you end up with a bunch of pissed off NaruSaku fans complaining about the fact that you somehow made it seem like Naruto's feelings of love for Sakura were the same kind of love he has for ramen. Though it was obvious throughout the series that this was not the case. Now when actually bringing the formula to bear on NaruHina, here's what it looks like. Number 1. But we can skip that because the pairings have already been established. Number 2. Since NaruSaku is already on the field, and it is the case that Naruto has so far not acknowledged Hinata's feelings, let's allow NaruSaku to advance with NaruHina shown as a lingering possibility. Number 3. Now we have to start showing the problems with the pairing that we do not want to be the final pairing, which in this case is NaruSaku. Examples of potential problems. Sakura is stuck on her feelings for Sasuke. Naruto feels that Sakura doesn't love him like she loves Sasuke. Naruto struggles to believe that Sakura truly loves him even when she says she does, and this can be tied to her false confession in the Land of Snow, etc. Number 4. Now we start to show the benefits of NaruHina. And remember, bonus points if we can show that this is a huge plus as it relates to the other potential relationship. Practical examples of where to start here? Well, with Hinata, Naruto has no doubt that she loves him full on, or at least has that high level infatuation and attraction thing going on. Huge plus. Also, if that false confession in the Land of Snow turns out to be a fairly big thing between Naruto and Sakura, then Naruto and Hinata have the benefit of not having this tense and lingering history between them. If we want to go more real world, we can even show that Sakura's job takes up a lot of her time, and that she has less time to actually go out with Naruto. Hinata, on the other hand, does not have this problem. Notice that at the end of Boruto, Hinata became a housewife and Sakura is still working. Number 5. Take everything from number 3 and start tearing down the relationship between Naruto and Sakura. It shouldn't be hard to do this, as your readers and watchers should already feel the tension of all the problems lingering between the two. Number 6. Allow Naruto and Hinata's relationship to come to the forefront. And as I said before, this can vary from situation to situation. Let's say that hopes for Naruto and Sakura getting together end because Sakura tells Naruto she doesn't feel the same way, and she's still into Sasuke. In that case, Naruto might need healing time, so give him that. Let Hinata be around a bit, and after a little while, allow their relationship to start moving forward. Then of course, number 7, realize that even if you do all of this perfectly, you're still going to have people who wanted and still want NaruSaku. It doesn't matter if you give them evidence that they would have serious issues, that's their pairing, and it will be their OTP forever. OTP means one true pairing if you didn't know. So these fans of their particular pairing are sticking with it no matter what. And please don't misunderstand me here. Though I do believe OTPers can be in love with an objectively lesser relationship, I don't say this in a disrespectful way to them, mainly because their viewpoint has its advantages. Now this is a bit of a rabbit trail, but it's a good one, so I'm gonna hop along. With the OTPer's mindset, there's a kind of strength that you can bring to stories. As a brief example, if we double back into the realm of fanfiction for a bit, let's say that there's a person who has Naruto and Sakura as their one true pairing. And let's say that Naruto and Hinata were actually written very well within the Naruto series, with all the problems I mentioned Naruto and Sakura having before being brought to light and used to advance Naruto and Hinata in the story. Well, this person, who has Naruto and Sakura as their one true pairing, may decide to write a story where Naruto and Sakura together decide that they're going to love each other through these issues and not let them come between them. And perhaps the theme of that story could be that love requires change and sacrifice. Maybe Sakura takes less shifts at the hospital to sacrifice for Naruto. Maybe Naruto forgives and forgets Sakura's false confession and chooses to believe her when she says she loves him instead of doubting it all the time. The possibilities are really endless. But just so I don't get too sidetracked, let's bring this home. Everything I just mentioned is why I titled the video what I titled it. There were many things about the Naruto series that Kishimoto got right, but as it relates to romance and pairings, he wrote himself into a corner, and one that he couldn't write himself out of. In other words, he wrote something he couldn't skill. And unlike series like Dragon Ball, where characters seem to regret not getting with the opposite partner of a favorite pairing, look at Bulma during the Frieza arc as she reflects, Naruto as a show does the opposite, which only aggravates the issue. Think about it. We would be more accepting of pairings that didn't go our way if we saw them working out great for the characters involved in those pairings. With Naruto, we don't get this. And it's not like Naruto is trying to teach us any life lessons or anything through the failed relationships of the characters. It's just showing us that the relationships with all their problems are there. It never lingers, it never teaches, it just lets it be there. Now contrast this to Dragon Ball Z, where we have moments in the future where the pairings we didn't want at first are made to look absolutely amazing.
How dare you! That's my power!
Even with these few scenes, you can see that you have no doubt these characters love the people they've ended up with. Their rage whenever those characters are in peril is undeniable. But how the relationships continue in Boruto only makes things worse. Sasuke leaves Sakura to take care of Sarada and struggle under the burden of basically being a single mother. And sometimes, when Hinata prepares lunchboxes for Naruto, he doesn't even eat them. All of that to say that when I look at these couples, I highly doubt their love for each other. Cute moments together isn't going to cut it for me. I need to see that love in the day-to-day, not thrown into the story by an author who wants to give fans of the pairing a little fan service. So I highly doubt the quality of Sasuke's love for Sakura. I kinda doubt the love Naruto has for Hinata. I even wonder about Sakura's love for Sasuke with how he acts on a regular basis, and the only love that feels like it's still going is Hinata's, which is not that same full-strength infatuation / childhood feelings love she had when she was younger, but rather a love that seems to have fallen into that comfortable tender love that couples fall into as time goes on. She also seems to experience that same giddiness when remembering times past as evidenced in this scene with Boruto. And all the things I just mentioned about the relationship dynamics, and how I can now doubt their love, leads to a sense that perhaps the way the pairings turned out wasn't right after all. And if you want to really see what I mean here, you only need to glance at one of the more healthy couples in the show in Shikamaru and Tamari. I don't doubt their love for each other, and I don't think many others do either. Minato and Kushina are another great example, and Neji and Tenten are another couple I would probably have had very similar sentiment for. Very unfortunately, that couple can't even exist anymore because Neji was sacrificed to propel Naruto and Hinata forward, killing off one of the better potential couples in the series. Now in summary, here's how I would have handled the pairings in the last. If I were trying to make Naruto and Hinata the final couple, then I would take note of the fact that they'd had no build-up up to this point, that Naruto and Sakura had heavy build-up with a passionate fan following, one of those fans being my wife, and that I only had a movie's worth of time to work Naruto and Hinata out. In other words, I probably would have looked at the situation and considered changing my mind. But if I did go through with putting Naruto and Hinata together, then I would do what I said before about skipping all the Naruto and Sakura relationship stuff and probably have just revealed that the history was there through Naruto's thoughts. Whether the issue was Sakura's feelings of love for Sasuke, or irreconcilable differences, or past tensions being too much to overcome, I would show that these made the relationship unattainable, and show that Naruto was currently in a healing phase, letting go of Sakura, which would open him up to new relationship opportunities. And this would all be done at the very start of the movie. So I may have a scene where Naruto is dealing with his thoughts, or having a conversation with Sakura, or some other way dealing with what needed to be dealt with. Then throughout the course of the movie, you allow Naruto and Hinata to get closer to each other. Not necessarily going to the place of being in love with each other at the end of the movie, but perhaps getting to the place of liking each other, looking out for each other, relating to each other, and maybe ending the movie with a kiss. Sure, why not? You can even propel things forward in the movie by having them strike up a conversation where they discuss Hinata's confession to Naruto when fighting pain. So this is how I would deal with Naruto and Hinata at the end of the Naruto series if I were the one who had to write it. For NaruSaku, the path would obviously be much easier due to pre-existing history. Still, I may go the route of showing that love requires sacrifice and change, as I mentioned when speaking on One True Pairings. I would also perhaps throw in a bit of drama by having some difficult things that needed to be explored. For example, Sakura's former feelings for Sasuke, and Naruto's doubt of Sakura's love. Note that you can also propel things forward here by bringing painful conversations to bear, like Sakura's confession in the Land of Snow. Then you can use those conversations to bring reconciliation and a greater bond between the two than could ever happen otherwise. So I hope that with those two examples of how the ending could be better written, you all will start to see my point. A lot of times, it's not the pairing that can't work, it's the author that has to know how to make it work, and this can be very difficult to do. Throw in the fact that Kishimoto had no experience writing romance, and it was way past impossible. Now since I am at the end of this video, I am going to reveal the pairing that I favor. And drumroll please! I favor and prefer Naruto and Sakura. But I think if you take a good look at this video, you'll see that that hasn't affected my objectivity in any way at all. Good writing is good writing, and that's just what it is. All that being said, I'm glad you all checked out this video, and also that there's one thing we can probably all agree on. Shikamaru and Temari are awesome.